In continuing our conversation about science fiction tropes, we're going to start out with artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, especially right now in this day and age, seems to be a hot button topic for a lot of different reasons. And I think that one of the things that scares humanity so much about artificial intelligence is this science fiction trope that makes AI kind of the villain. You know, what happens when machines can think for themselves? They decide not to take orders from humans, or they decide to take over for humans. Some variety of, humans can't take care of themselves, and so the machines need to step in to do so. There's been all kinds of varieties of this particular trope that, quite frankly, give people nightmares whenever they think of artificial intelligence, and for good reason. These stories are driven by, pondering that notion of sentient machines and what might happen if all of that comes into fruition. And so you end up with movies or books, TV shows such as, Blade Runner, Terminator, where this basically AI machine, comes back to wreak havoc, creates this Skynet kind of philosophy that the machines are taking over Earth. The Matrix is also another one with sentient machines that have pretty much enslaved the human race and uses our bodies pretty much as batteries, which is absolutely horrifying when you think about it. 2001: A Space Odyssey is another example of this type of trope. Another common one that we see a lot in science fiction is the dystopian government trope. Again, this one has been kind of creeping back in. And I will say, if you read some of these older dystopian government books, you can see nuances. These authors were sort of prolific in being almost prophesizing some of the mistakes that we would make in modern day government and the repercussions of those. It's almost like a stark warning of what can happen if we don't take these books somewhat seriously and at least think of the consequences of these actions. And so they highlight basically the consequences of authoritarian rule. So you get books like 1984, A Brave New World, Fahrenheit 451, all of which I've read recently. And honestly, if you read them again now and you look at the things that are happening right now in modern times, you have to question, whether or not they knew what was going to happen in the future, because it certainly seems like there are some undertones that are somewhat coming to fruition in modern times, which is, again, terrifying. V for Vendetta is another one. Dystopian governments. You get A Handmaid's Tale is kind of an interesting look into, dystopian authoritarian society. Snowpiercer is another one. Also falls in the post-apocalyptic bubble as well. And like I said, a lot of these, even A Handmaid's Tale is a post-apocalyptic type of, something happened that catapulted society into this dystopian government. And so just like with fantasy, you can have more than one of these tropes kind of working to guide the story, if you will, or add action and conflict to the story. Alien ancestors is basically the idea that ancient aliens have been influencing human history. Definitely captivates imaginations. You can have things like Stargate. It shows these potential aliens were basically like the Egyptian gods, very similar. and that they were on Earth and now they're on this other world. But at one time they were here on Earth influencing and building, the Great Pyramids and whatnot. I mean, if you watch Ancient Aliens, you have to wonder how some of these things were built. And so that can have an influence on some of these ancient alien stories or ancient ancestor stories. The Atlantis Gene, I know it's not necessarily a popular book, but it is one that I read that was absolutely captivating to me about how, alien ancestors maybe even toyed with our DNA, kind of shaping how humanity evolved and grew. And so that is both exciting and fresh and terrifying as well. Prometheus was kind of a discovery of our ancestors that had already been to the stars and the horrible things that happened to them. The Abyss is aliens that have been living here the whole time, kind of underwater. The Sphere is another one. It's more of an entity, but these are just some examples of some potential alien ancestor stories. Another science fiction trope is the space pirate. Space pirates add an element of adventure to science fiction narratives, and they certainly do. They are kind of the fun and quirky Jack Sparrow of the stars type of characters. Firefly is one that jumps to mind. It kind of even has this kind of Wild West feel to it. And definitely space pirates. Cowboy Bebop, Han Solo in Star Wars he's a smuggler, so he's kind of a space pirate. The Expanse, Black Sun, these are all examples of space pirates. They can be a lot of fun. And not to be confused with world-killing aliens, we have world-stealing aliens. Maybe they don't want to kill us, they just want to steal our world or our resources. So the concept of world-stealing aliens basically takes an alien invasion to an extreme. Independence Day can be kind of like that. It was, sometimes it's debatable. Do they want to destroy us? Do they want to take over the world? The Day the Earth Stood Still, The Tomorrow War, Battle of Los Angeles is a good one. That's a very underrated movie. I really like that one. Again, Edge of Tomorrow. I believe they were after some sort of resources here. So it would be, are they just going to steal the world and take the resources, or do they actually want to just, wipe out human civilization? It could be a combination of both, all of the above. Who knows? It kind of develops as they go as far as their goal is concerned. But, aliens is definitely an underlying trope in general in science fiction. So those are kind of the 9 main tropes of science fiction. And like I said, a lot of these can be listed under multiple categories. I'm sure you can think of more under these categories. If you have to think of some better examples, feel free to drop those down in the comments. Let me know so I can add them to my list. These are things you can study. If you're interested in writing science fiction, you should definitely understand these tropes, how they work. Read some of them, maybe figure out what people did right, what people did wrong, put your own little twist on it, make it original. Again, understanding the roots of a genre and how they work helps you pinpoint an audience, figure out what your audience likes, what they respond to, what they don't respond to. You can take the best and get rid of the worst. I mean, people have already put material out there, so it's there for you to explore and decide what you like, what you don't like, what your audience likes, what they don't like, and come up with your own unique idea and make an awesome story.